Hello there, YouTube. Long time no see. Welcome back to another Double Dark hunting video. If you're wondering where the heck I've been the past few months, geez, it's been a few months. Oy. Mostly working on other projects, though I have been playing Hanabi for sure. But the main thing I'm excited to share about is I'm soon going to be launching a Kickstarter for a ridiculous party game I made. It's called Build-A-Dare. I guess I'll link some info about it in the description, but I also sort of plan on making some videos about it as well. So stay tuned. I'm very excited. Yeah, but for now, let's jump right into this. So this is Black, which I'm sure you're familiar with by now if you've watched the series, and probably the hardest suit definitely the hardest suit in all of Hanabi, Dark Null. If you're not familiar with Null cards, it is just about as horrible as you might imagine. Null cards, like this one, can never be clued by any single clue. They just cannot be touched. So the only way to get them out is by sneaky means. Null is a lot of fun. The three of us have done a lot of work trying to figure out how Null should be played. But it's also incredibly hard. Dark Null is super hard to get cards saved and finessed, and layering that on top of being in the middle of a double dark game makes this incredibly difficult. But we pulled it off. The beginning was kind of sloppy, but kind of wild. So I hope you enjoy. Let's see what happens. All right, so Piper starts. He wants to get one of these blue twos, or blue ones, sorry. So he starts with a play clue on these 5, and if, in case you're not familiar, this is obviously needing Kimby to respond, since this is going to look like a green 1. Now, if Kimby was to play slot 1, I would just mark this as a green 2, just as a normal bluff. In most games, you'd also say this could be green 3, but we play a little differently. But regardless, since it's not a 2 or 3, and it's exactly a 5, Kimby is meant to eject, so play her slot 2 card. So now I mark this as a 5. Easy. Alright, so now is where stuff gets a little funky. Because this is a super hard variant, we need to be really efficient. We do agree that we don't just like randomly clue a 5 for no other reason, right? So therefore, if I was to clue 5 here, from Piper's perspective, we would all know that this yellow 2 is getting chop moved and saved as a 5's chop move. So, with that all said, it must be very weird when I end up cluing. Oh, I'm in hypo. When I end up cluing 2, like this. Now, I learned after the game that apparently neither of my teammates have ever encountered this convention before. So props to them for trying to figure this out on the fly. And yeah, it was pretty cool. So what I expected would happen is just that this would blind play, and it did. So no one plays. And now in order for that to have worked, Kimby has to now figure out, well, wait a minute, what's stopping that from just being a normal 2 save? And she's able to deduce that it must mean that this is a 5. Yeah, you can see Piper's note. Is this a known 5? Kimby marked it. I marked it with a chuckle, lol. And now, interestingly, because Null 1 played, it's just sort of a known bluff, right? This 2 can now be anything. And logically, that should be the end of it, right? So no other plays should be called for. This is chop moved, and life goes on. So I was kind of expecting whatever, like 1s, and then who knows? Well, that's not what happened. So Kimby clues red. Like I mentioned, right? It's important to get creative in how we get the null cards, and this is absolutely 100% going to be red 2. So I think my slot 1 card is red 2, And Kimby's plan is for this to play, and then we fix with blue. So with this one clue, plus the blue follow-up, Kimby's going to be able to snag 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. So it's a really cool idea. And in fact, at this point, I don't know if this is a 4 or 5, or sorry, 3 or 4. And there's literally nothing else for me to do, really, so I just discard. Okay, so here's where the confusion begins, I think. Piper is digging. He continues to play slot 2 from the 2 clue, and I think that's just a misunderstanding that I think he thought that he needed to keep digging because this was so weird, and that's fair, but you know, so there's a little desync here, but obviously now that this plays, he's going to go back for what he thinks is a red 1. Okay, so the confusion continues. Kimby, sadly, I think the fact that this kept playing, I'm not sure, but she had an incorrect read, I guess, that this was actually red 2. So she discards what she thinks is red 2 politely for me. Anyway, I blind play. I think I must have just drawn yellow 2, and now I play it. So that's too bad. Alright, so now Piper starts digging for, like we said, red 1, and Kimby does the fix. So of course, because we're all on the same page here that this clue is necessary, it's just the best way to get this card played. It's just a fix. So, in fact, I think now, oh right. So, fortunately, I guess you could say, because the card I bombed was the duplicate red 4, well, now I know that I have the 2 and the 3, so I actually clue red here. Now, this was a little risky. I remember being a little spooked, but normally this red clue would focus this card, right? But I'm just fully trusting that this was indeed marked as a 5, which means that now this red clue is now known for 5. Alright, so now we're back in business. We are down a yellow 2, but hey, whatever. That's only one of the 8 other critical cards we need to find, so it happens. Alright, so this is actually another just fix clue, right? Because, and I was mildly surprised to see this. This is what we call an out-of-order finesse. So my original note you can see on this card was red 2, but now Kimby clues 2 to correct it and say, nope, this was out of order. In fact, this is the 3, but now you have to play this. Notice, by the way, that another clever part about the line that Kimby chose here, she saw, this is back on this turn, she saw that these blue 4s are going to be going to chop soon, so it's just an extra benefit to be able to knowingly get the blue 4 touched, since I'm about to discard this other copy. So very nice, very nice. Okay, so 2, and now we get a reverse finesse. So everything gets to play out a little bit. Okay, so Piper defers the finesse. Obviously, he marked this as green 1. He knows this isn't blue 2. Is that true? Yes. He knows this is not blue 2 because if it was blue 2, we wouldn't bother fixing, right? You can imagine if this is a 2, Kimby would just discard. Let's say I do the same clue I did in game. Boom. We would just let this play naturally and not save this until later. So the fact that the blue clue came in now to fix for him to skip ahead to the red 1 means that it is definitely not a 2. So actually, yeah, when he discards, that explains this note. When he discards this, I immediately make a note that this is not blue 2, because otherwise Piper would clue the 3. Okay, anyway, moving on. So now we get this, and now this has been correctly identified. this is like the perfect draw. Piper can now clue 3 as a layered finesse on me. Alright, so Kimby can start playing her reds. I blind play what I think is blue too. This is like the best surprise ever. Whenever you get to play a null card, oh, feels good. One less null card to worry about. Piper goes back for the finesse. Very nice. Kimby's got her 5 to play, and I keep digging. Not much for Piper to do. Yeah, now we just get to play everything out. Piper still doesn't know if this is 4 or 5 yet, so we're going to have to fix that at some point. Alright, we get a bluff. And remember, this black card can now be 2, 3, or 4. Now, obviously, now it's 3 or 4. So now Piper and Kimby's hand is sort of awkward. We're getting kind of low on pace, and it would be really great to orchestrate some way to get green 4 played. Since I know I have the green 5 from like turn 1, it would be awesome to get tempo on this 4, this 5, and this 4 and this 5, right? Because if we start just discarding cards and waiting to clue these cards, that means we're going to be in a worse spot later. Like, it'd be much preferable if we could just get these 4s and 5s played. It still gives us clues back, but it maintains the pace in case the cards we draw are in a less than perfect order. So I do something that I don't recommend doing much, but do what you gotta do. See if you can see a clever kind of clue to get stuff played quickly here. All right, I choose 5 here. So normally, obviously, like, it's not like it's endgame, so I'm not allowed to just give this, like I said earlier, I'm not allowed to just randomly give a 5 clue as a stall. So conventionally, this is a chop move. So Piper should, and did, mark this as a chop move. But the secondary effect of this clue is that it also disambiguates the 4 and 5. So honestly, I think the more conventional approach to what to do here would be cluing 4. So yeah, we could clue 4, and then maybe Kimby could, oh sure, with red. Let's say red, then Kimby ejects, and then I know I have trash. So that's okay, but this is like turbo power this. So I clue 5, chop move here, let Piper play this, and I remember he mentioned in review that he definitely assumed that I was doing the sneaky thing that I was doing, which was indeed having Kimby now be very confused about my 5 clue, since she sees, well, Piper has just chop moved this card. That's going to be a big problem later, right? Because that means near the end of the game, it's probably going to bomb as like null 4 or black 2 or whatever. So actually, Kimby actually does have to respond this turn to, in some way, to let Piper know that this is actually trash. So she ejects. Now, obviously, this is a bad idea to do because, conventionally speaking, there's nothing stopping Piper from, like, you know, delaying this play and doing something else. So, for example, like, we would be in really bad shape if Piper delayed and did the same thing, right? Because now Kimby still ejects, but now it's totally ambiguous from my perspective whether or not this red clue was actually a true chop move, or did Piper just layer on a second ejection signal for Kimby, which obviously, yeah, there's no way Kimby can eject twice. So yes, in normal games, I do not recommend this because there is high risk. But in this case, we know each other's style really well, and Piper knows exactly what I'm doing. So, or at least he wanted to give it a turn. He wanted to see if Kimby would respond, and sure enough, she did. So now we're just cruising, right? Now we both have 2 plays lined up. So play, sure enough. Okay, I like this discard. Yeah, there's only one useful clue left to give, really. And Kimby wants to see if she can draw something else valuable. And sure enough, this is, again, a really good draw here. Because now this sets up a true finesse. Yellow matches yellow, so this now means that Piper must have the 3, or else obviously this would bomb as yellow 3. So she discards again. Yeah, so notice now, right? We're 2 discards deeper, but now we've cleared out the blue and green cards. So now it's just down to the darks. So let's see how we finish it off. I clue 2, so off chop. So that's going to be a finesse. And now, thank goodness, I remember it's such a sigh of relief whenever the black 1 is drawn. You know you have a chance, because way too often it feels like you'll just have one of the black cards on the bottom of the deck, and it just means it's unwinnable from the start. So at this point, I think the only way we lose this is if the null 4 is on the bottom, basically. So, all right, so 2, Piper continues the finesse. And so this is kind of funny. I don't know the order of these, right? When this was clued black, it could have been either way, right? Because you are totally allowed to bluff with black 4 in front, just because it's such a good way. It's so important to get black cards touched. So even though, sorry for the quick recap here, even though I don't know which order it is, I actually just, I give a play clue. So now Kimmy knows this is the 5. And now I'm basically telling Piper, it's your job this turn. You have 1 chance to fix this. So if this was in the other order, Piper would have to, this turn, tell me, nope, nope, nope. I guess 4 or 3, it doesn't really matter. I guess 3 would be more polite. So actually, just the sheer fact that Piper ignores and does not blind play, or fix, is guaranteeing me that they are in order. And by the way, it's a good thing Piper discards here. It is going to pay 0, but what's nice about it is Piper knows that he can safely discard, because worst comes to worst, like if he drew trash here, he can always just wait till the end of the game, till the very last turn of the game, to play this card. So anyway, very nice discard, I think. Okay, and now Kimby sees the null 4 and 5. Question is, how are we going to get them? Kimby decides that we can deal with this later. Piper is going to be forced to stall anyway, because we're at pace 0. So she plays into me. As expected, Piper stalls. And yeah, from Piper's perspective, he's probably still freaking out, because if we don't get null 4 soon, we're going to be in some trouble. So Piper stalls, and Kimby clues green. Basically, this is a play clue, essentially on null 5. So this is a trash pull, we call it. So I mark this as very likely null 5. And just to see, just for fun, let's imagine this was a random trash card. Kimby would just play here, right? She can play her 4 and let me bluff this. She could hope to draw null 5. So yeah, the very fact that she's delaying here is strongly indicative that I have the 5. So anyway, it turns out we have just enough time to play this. Piper, sure enough, blind plays this. And then Kimby just trusts that I will play the right card. No fix necessary. So, boom. And as often happens in double dart games, it's a photo finish, playing right into the turn 0 we all play in the last round. Whew. GG.